Okay, so welcome today. I'm just getting my camera set up here. Very low tech here, so we got to get ready. Okay, so today I'm going to go through and do a video tutorial on how to arrange my seagull design. So I have my laser kit here for my seagulls. This is one of my designs that I put out in 2023. And we're not going to do the sewing, but we're going to do all the applique arranging for the center here. So I'm going to go through a few of the things that you're going to want to have on hand today. One of them is a pencil sitting right here. Of course, your kit. You're going to also need an applique pressing sheet. So this is the one that I like to use. It's an 18 by 20 size. There's also a 17 by 13 size that I used for a really long time. That works great too. I don't like any that are bigger than this. This is about my max size, but I do find that this is a great size so that I can do a bunch of different parts and not have to ever remove them from the pressing sheet. But if you have a smaller size, you can always put some things together, fuse them gently, which we'll do as we get going, and then remove them and lay them out on some parchment paper, which they won't stick to. And that way, if you need to kind of have more space to do your arrangement. But if you get really into this 18 by 20 size is a really great size if you can find it. If you can't find it, 13 by 16, which is in most craft stores and quilt shops, have the 13 by 17 size, and that one's great. My dog's hair does like to stick to this one, so that's what I keep wiping off. I keep finding her hairs, and it's like I just wiped it off, and there's another one. So you'll want to get your applique pressing sheet, and you'll, of course, I have all my stuff already laid out over here. You'll want to have a little pair of thread scissors on hand, and of course your pattern. So my pattern's already taken apart here, and I'm just going to kind of go through some of the steps. So I'm going to go ahead and set my kit off to the side because I have another here that I've already done some of the steps to, so we're ready for the applique process. So in our instructions here, step 1, pre-wash all fabrics to block and remove excess dye. I highly, highly, highly recommend that you do this with your backgrounds and borders. All of your appliques, just so you know, I have already pre-washed all these fabrics for you. I do that before I do any of the laser cutting because I don't ever want anyone to buy one of my kits, do all this work arranging everything, go to steam it, and have that water from the steam basically make your fabrics bleed, which can happen, especially like this is a color I know does it. So just so everybody is aware, all the appliques that are laser cut in anything that you get from me, the fabrics have already been pre-washed. Prints don't often bleed as much as solids. These are considered solids, just because the prints, when they do the stamping process and then removing all the wax and everything, it does remove a lot of the excess dye. So you don't have to worry as much about that in prints, but solids, which these are considered solids, definitely can lose a lot of extra dye, and some of them massive amounts. I mean, your whole sink will just turn into brown. I will often throw them all in if you have a bunch of fabric that you're doing, throw them all in your washer, and you can just do a rinse cycle, or I just do like a quick wash, or for when I'm doing for my kits, I usually just do a normal cycle wash with detergent, but you can just do a rinse. Sometimes if you have really small pieces in a kit, like even the background, so here's my border pieces and my binding. This one's so small, and you know, when you put this in through the dryer, it can wrinkle up like crazy and stuff. So sometimes with things like this, you might just rinse it off in the sink. If it's not losing a lot of color, you're good to go. You can throw it in the dryer, or you can iron it dry. The same thing with this. You can rinse them in the sink, and as long as you're running clear, when you're done, throw them in the dryer, and that also pre-shrinks everything, so you don't have to worry about blocking in the future either, which if you aren't familiar with what that is, it's basically the grains of your fabric, you know, run perpendicular to one another, and they can get stretched just from like wrapping them on the bolts and then you bringing them home. And I mean, they're cottons, they have a slight bit of stretch to them, and when you dry a fabric, that drying process straightens all the grains back out. So if you've ever bought a t-shirt or a sweatshirt, or maybe you've made something and you've sewn a quilt together and you have one block that after the first wash, the fabrics kind of like pull, in a weird way. That's because they were stretched in the first place and then they straightened out in your dryer cycle. Once it does that, you can never get it back to that original, warped way that it was. It was always going to want to straighten out through the dryer. So drying and washing do more than one thing. They get all your excess dyes out and they also straighten your grains back out. So you will notice sometimes, like with a piece like this, it might be super straight right now. You get it out of the dryer, you go to straighten it up and it's off, like maybe it's gone off where it's like this. Wow, that's a lot. Well, that is because the grain's straightened out. Now it's straight. You trim that excess off and now you have a nice straight grain line. You don't have to worry about blocking in the future. So it's a step that I know a lot of people skip, but it's something that I really, really, really recommend people do. That's why it's always step one in all my instructions. So you don't have to worry about it with your appliques, but your backgrounds and your borders that come in the kits, I don't pre-wash those. Those ones are there. Rinse them in the sink, throw them in the dryer with your clothing or whatever, and just do that so you don't have to worry about bleed later or blocking. Okay, moving on. Step 2. So in the instructions, I'm going to have you cut all your backgrounds, all your borders, binding, all that stuff at once. For this video, I'm not going through any of the sewing portion of it. If you guys have any questions about sewing, just know all of my sewing is going to be 1/4-inch seams, as traditional quilting is. And if you're having any trouble with sewing, I highly recommend asking your local quilt shops to help with that portion of it, just because there's so many people out there that are amazing quilters, and your quilt shop ladies should be able to easily walk you through any issues you might have with the arrangement or the sewing part of it. What I'm going to go through today is your applique. So going through all this in the instructions, you'll want to do all of that. If you're cutting one yourself, this one I'm going to do is a laser kit, of course. You're going to, at step 3, want to go ahead and trace all your appliques. So we'll take this big page out from the inside of your pattern, and you'll see that it has kind of 2 parts to it. Your layout guide, which is what we're going to focus on mostly today, and all these little applique shapes. So when you're doing your own tracing and cutting, you're going to want to take your seam. I have just a little random piece here. Lay it on top. Trace everything. All of these are in reverse from the layout. You're tracing on your grid side. Trace it all out. Do not waste your time and start cutting all the little lines out right now. You're going to trace like this section. I would trace these shapes. Then I would just cut off that section and have this like chunk with my shapes traced on it. Then you would peel your paper off the back. You can feel this is now sticky. Place it on the reverse of your fabric. Iron it on, and this is my hand, this is your iron. This is how much time you iron at that point. Stick the iron down, run it across. That's enough. Then you cut your shapes out. Do not trace everything on your paper and then cut all these little shapes out. You're making it harder for yourself, and you're adding so much time to the process here. You just want to cut out blocks of color with the shapes traced on. Stick that whole block onto your background of your fabric. This one's already laser cut, but if you imagine the laser cut shapes are my pencil lines for my tracing, I will have stuck the whole thing on here in this square, and then I would go through and cut my shapes out. For one thing, the paper being past your lines, it gives you a really nice support for cutting your lines, makes it so much easier. And for 2, it's very difficult to cut that exact line again if you've already cut the shapes out. You don't need to do that. So that's one of the mistakes I find people make a lot with steam-a-seam, is they trace it, then they think they need to cut every little individual shape out before they've even placed it on their fabrics. So trace it, cut the section out. I just roughly cut around the whole section of color, put it on my fabrics, fuse it down, fuse it like that. That's enough. You'll notice that the color will become slightly translucent when you put that heat on it, just enough to stick it, then cut your shapes out. For folks like who are doing laser kit like I'm doing today, we're going to go ahead and we're going to use this to label all of our pieces. So you'll get your laser kit. You're going to have all these different little pieces. I have a bunch more over here. I've already gone through and labeled mine. So you just want to take a pencil. I love these kind of mechanical pencils because they always stay nice and sharp. They don't seem to smudge as much as like a number 2 that you would be sharpening yourself manually. So I love these pencils, and also for doing trace lines. So if you're cutting something yourself, that's another time that you'll want to, that these are really great. And then you're just gonna label everything. So you might see like, for instance, down here, I have my dark blue ocean water and floats. Your label on here, dark blue ocean water and floats. And you're going to trace, or you're going to label C1, B10, B11, B1. Do that for everything. That's very important as we get going. It'll speed you up so much. Have everything labeled. Once we've got everything labeled, now we're going to do the one other step that I've already got done here. We're going to have, we've already cut our backgrounds. So we're going to sew, always using a 1/4" seam. We're going to stitch the sky and beach backgrounds together. Press the seam open. Why? Here, this is the reverse. I've got my seam pressed open. The reason that I have you do that, and if I say press seams open, that means I want you to do that. If you press it all to one side, it's okay. But when you press it open, what it does is it distributes the bulk here of the seam allowance more evenly over a 1/2 inch instead of so much of it. Like if I press it all to this side, I now have 3 layers of fabric on this side of my seam. And that's a lot of bulk under there. And I'm going to have some appliques that go over it. And you have, you run the risk of seeing that seam line sort of showing up through your appliques. And so if you press the seam open, you distribute that seam allowance over a 1/2 inch area, where now I just have 2 layers of fabric on a 1/4 inch on this side of the seam, 2 layers of fabric on a 1/4 inch on this side. And so it definitely feels much flatter, and you don't see the seam through your appliques so much. So we want to have completed this step of sewing your beach and sky backgrounds together, pressing your seam open, and then now we're actually going to set it aside, and we're going to work on pre-arranging a bunch of our appliques. So in step 6, place the non-stick pressing sheet over the layout guide, and we're going to pre-arrange. So you're going to take your layout guide. I'm going to lay mine sideways for this, just so that you can see what I'm doing and I can fit it on here well. We're going to pre-arrange Seagulls 1 through 3 in alphabetical order. I'm just going to start with that one so we don't get too far ahead of ourselves. The other thing that if you get into doing a lot of my designs, you may want to invest in a light table. I have this one. It's called a Daylight, and it's an 18 by 24 size. They make 3 sizes. There's one that's just like a 8.5 by 11, I think, for like paper, normal size paper, if you're doing a lot of tracing with that. Then they have one that's about half the size of this one. That's a good starter size one. But since I do a lot of stuff and most of my designs are going to be 24 this way, because that's how my paper usually is for printing, the 24 by 18 is great. I love this size. But it is an investment. If you don't want to buy a light table right now, I would highly recommend making one yourself. And the easiest way is taking a glass table, coffee table, kitchen table, anything, and sticking a lamp under it. I did that for quite a lot of years before I got a light table. And there are also, like I said, smaller size light tables that are maybe more economical. I used to use a long time one that was for drawing. It was at an angle, which was a little tough because sometimes my stuff would start to slide, maybe at an angle, and it would start to slide. But this one I love because it's flat. You can also even tape this to a window if you need to. And then when you're doing tape this to the window so it hangs in place, and you can do it, you know, they're sticky back, all these little appliques. So they will actually stick on here even if they are not laying flat. So you can always do that too. So there's a few options if you're not ready to invest in a light table. But if you get doing a lot of my designs, you may want to get one because they are extremely helpful. Ooh, and I just turned mine on accident. I have my light table a little bright right now. This one does have like where I can dim it, or it will get brighter if I push it again, and it goes really bright. In the videos, the really, really bright can sometimes be a little too bright. So for you guys, I'm going to dim it a little bit. But when you're doing it yourself, I would highly recommend just go ahead and put it up full strength. Makes it easier to see everything, and doing your arrangements just goes a little faster that way because you're not having to like flip over and look all the time. Okay, so first thing we're going to do, like I said, is seagulls. Most of these pieces just go to the buoy, so I'm going to put those aside. Grab the pieces that have my seagull, although this one does have a couple pieces for a seagull, as a matter of fact, the first one. So I'm going to start with seagull number 1, and I'm just doing it, I guess I could try to, since you guys are, let's try to switch him so he's the right side up. Okay, so I'm going to start with, so he's not seagull number 1. All your labels for him are going to be 1A, 1B, 1C, all the way through. I think we have RT, I think TU. Use the last one. So when you have something like that that has 1A, 1B, 1 all the way to U, you want to then, for everything 1, we're do all 1s first. And we're going to do them in alphabetical order. And that way they layer upon each other correctly. So start with seagull, and we're going to find A1, which is actually in this tan, this medium tan color. A1. And when you go to peel these off, you're going to kind of, one of the ways I do it is I sort of bend the paper over, and the paper will start to release. I don't know if you can see very well there, but it will release and kind of keep its fold, and the fabric wants to flop back out. It makes it just easier to peel the paper off. Sometimes the bend doesn't always work in one spot, and I'll bend over here, but I bend them a lot of the times, and that helps to get the paper released off the back. So there's 1A. Just gonna move a few things. So I put all my garbage over here in a pile, and 1A is down here on his foot. So I'm just gonna, this little point here, I'm just gonna line up that little point, and it goes over here. 1A is done. 1B is gonna be his little leg, which is part of the gold on seagulls and float. And when you go to pop them out, you just kind of give them a little tug. Now you might have threads occasionally that want to either stick out, which in this case I do have a thread. My little scissors. I have my little scissors. Oh, here they are. So I'm going to go ahead and just snip any of those little threads out. If you have threads that are holding in and you go tug and it is like not tugging apart, don't force it. Go ahead and use those thread scissors and snip any little threads that are holding on, because you don't really want to, you know, pull them out or force them. But so the thread scissors can be very helpful. Whoop. So I'm just going to put his little 1B. 1C is going back to this little tan, and then that's it. For this tan piece, you can set it aside. I think almost everything else in there is going to be when we get to the buoys. And if you accidentally bump it and you're off a little, you know, gone off kilter a little bit, you can, you know, rearrange it. I like to sometimes put something like this, holds it in place so that nothing moves on me. I've had lots of times where I've been doing something and I didn't realize it moved, and then I've got part of it kind of one way and then I straighten it back out, and it's like, oh geez, while it's on the layout it looks terrible because it looks like I'm way off. But once I pull the layout out, a lot of the times you don't really notice. If you're, you know, major off, yeah, but just slightly off, it doesn't always, you don't always notice it so much. So this one here, 1D, and some fabrics you'll find will have more threads than others. Not sure why that is. My lacer settings are pretty much the same, but some fabrics will just not want you to cut. And the way the laser works is it's little perforations. So it's just tiny little dots. And so occasionally, you know, one of those threads might just happen to hit right in between two dots where it doesn't quite get all the way through. But I try to set the programming so that they perforate and they pop out pretty easy, but they also hold within the sheet so you can label everything. So there's a little delicate balance of where that perfect setting is, you know. Okay, so we did A, B, C, D. We're going to go to E, which is actually up here. It's one of these, I think it's a big white piece. Yep. So white on seagulls, and you can take these labels off too. I label, oops, see I have a spot here that's really holding, and I'm not going to just tug on it. I'm going to snip it. And I just kind of pop them out. You don't want to be rough, but you don't want, you do kind of give it a nice little tug. And sometimes some of them, there we go. Some of them, the paper's like, I do not want to come off. Okay, so on this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of line up this area here because a lot of this is getting covered. And I know that this is his belly. And I'm just going to make sure that this outside edge is lined up more than anything else, because the rest of that's going to get covered. So there's E. Now F, I think, is in here. Yep, one F in this pale gray print. And I have a little thread sticking out there. I'm just going to snip any of those little threads that stick out. I'm just going to snip them off. Oops. G is part of his beak. So 1G is this yellow. And it's the top, so I'm going to line up my top line because I know the bottom's going to get covered a little bit by H, which is this tan. And then again on the H, I'm just going to kind of line up the bottom. I is actually also in this tan. And I think I don't need the yellow or tan until I get to the other seagulls anymore. And that's part of his eye. Now J, where's J? I'm going to look everywhere for J. I'll tell you where it is. It's here in this black. So it's this tiny little dot, and it's like, oh my gosh, what? Are you serious, Dana? Okay, I dropped it. Here it is, here it is, here it is. Sometimes I know some ladies, when they have these little ridiculously tiny pieces, they'll use, they will use tweezers. And definitely, if that helps you, use some tweezers. Some of the pieces like that, when I cut them and when I do them, I always think to myself, people are going to hate me. But, you know, it's part of the details, part of the, you know, he needs a pupil, right? Okay, so we did J. So now K. So we're coming down here now for K. And K, let's find it. J, K. Sometimes also, if I can't find something, oh, here it is. It's in the light gray. I'll look at my picture. I've done that lots of times. I'll look at this picture and I'll be like, what am I doing? Oh, it's down here. Oh, like, okay, L and M, they're going to be black. So sometimes it's good to reference your photo on the pattern cover. If you're having a hard time figuring out where something is, if at least you can look at it and say like, oh, it's white. Okay, then that eliminates a lot of things. So on K, I'm lining up this bottom edge. This stuff in here, it's going to peek through, but it's going to get covered mostly up here. So line up your bottom edge there. J, K, L is black. And L, I'm going to start with this little tip and line up the bottom where that line is there. L, M, and I think that's it. Oh, I have a piece in there for 3, but that's it for number 1, Seagull. M, N is in the white. And I can't actually see it so well. So if you ever need to flip this up to C, put your hand down and hold the pressing sheet in place and then just flip it up and take a look. Like here's N. So it's going to be right here. N, O is in here, and O is also white. And on the O, I can't see a lot of the edge, but I can see through this light piece right here, and it goes also over here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put down that spot, and then I'm going to make sure that these little feathers over here line up, and it goes right in place. Oh, and so I think we're done now until we get to 2 and 3 of the white also. So let's find, we did O, so P. P is in this medium gray. Q, where's Q? Q is up here. So I'm going to look at my picture. Oh, and it must be in this medium. Yep, here it is. 1Q. R, which is also in this medium gray. Felt a little thread pull out there. Let's grab that. And I'm lining up the bottom little ruffles there. S is in this light gray. And I'm lining up around his back, and it kind of covers up that whole empty section in there. S, so now T is in the light gray. We're almost done. We just have 2. Oh, it goes to V. I thought I went to U. I see a V. T. Now, I'm not sure which one is T looking at this, so I'm just going to flip this up and look. Okay, T is this guy. U is the one right above it, also in that gray. And V, that I didn't spot before, is actually in this dark gray, and it's this lighter gray on top of that dark gray. So I'm filming a little bit later in the day here, at least later in the day in Alaska. It's like 4 o'clock, so it's starting to get dark outside, so my room is darkening, which is actually making it much easier for me to see through here. So another tip, if you're having trouble seeing through your lines, be in a dark room where your light table is the main source of light that you have, and you really see the stuff underneath. Okay, so now we're going to do, let's do little seagull number 2. Because I'm putting everything on this applique sheet, I'm actually going to move, because we're finished with that guy. Let's move seagull number 2 over here. I just noticed that he's got a little spot here that just needs to kind of touch. Okay, so we're going to put number 2 and probably number 3 over here. So 2, going back, I know a lot of the pieces are in this. So we're going to start with 2A. Oh, I don't need that one. That's only 3. And it's going to be a tiny little yellow. It's his beak. Right here. 2A. Tiny little guy. Tweezer time, right? I use my fingernails. I barely have fingernails these days. It's been so dry this winter. All my nails have just broken to nothing. 2A. B is going to be white. 2B. Pop that out. And so I'm just going to line up his tail. C, what is C? A, B, oh, C, there we go. C is over here, oh, which is this lighter gray. D and E are going to be in this, oh, what I remember what this color is. This little topaz is the name of it. It's called gold. C. Or D, sorry, D, E. F is actually in this darker gray, and it kind of provides the shadow under the seagull's belly and under his face. And G is on his other wing, and that's it for this guy. And of course on G, I got all kinds of little things. I got a little thread sticking out. I got a little tiny, these are such sharp little points, and I got a little piece in there that doesn't want to come out. Just get in there with my little scissors and snip that. G. Okay, so perfect. So now on to Seagull number 3. I'm just going to move this, trying to move it so that I sort of stay in the middle here. Okay, so we want 3A. What is 3A? I have a feeling it's yellow. Where'd my yellow go? Yellow? Yellow? Hello? Yellow? Where's my yellow? Oh, here we go. I was going to say, I had it. Okay, oh no, that's C. Oh, geez. Okay, what's 3A? Let me take a look. Oh, it's a little foot. Here he is, in the gold again. And then that's it for gold till we get to the buoy, so I'm just going to set that aside. We're going to be doing buoys here in a minute. Okay. So A is his little foot. B is going to be this little black bit on his tail, and then the rest of this black is now all seagulls that we'll do at the very end when we're laying out on the background. So you can put your black aside too. And these are so staticky. B, C is going to be his beak. That's it for yellow too. This yellow piece, all done. No more yellow. So D is his white body. And so it covers his beak there. So make sure you're covering that beak up with your piece. E is this light silvery gray, and that's it for that one too. So that one is also finished. And this is here. F. Okay, F. Oh, and you know what? I have that wrong. I have that moved over too far. So I'm going to put him more in the center there. Okay, F and G are both in this dark gray, and that's also it for that dark gray. Oop, I got a thread that's being resistant of leaving its sheet. F, little wing, and G. Oh, I think there's an H. So that's done with those grays. All those grays are done. So let me just make sure I'm putting this on the right way. Goes this way. Little diamond shape. And H is this little white piece. And then the rest of this H goes to the buoys also. So I'm just going to put that off to the side. I have a piece of steam stuck to my finger. So it's not wanting to let go. There we go. Like I said, tweezers are helpful. Some ladies swear by the tweezers. I'll make sure I'm putting it on correctly. Have it upside down. If you put it on upside down too, I can tell you what, you're not going to know. Nobody's going to know. Okay, seagulls are finished. So because I have this bigger sheet, applique sheet, I'm actually going to go ahead and move on to do buoys in other places. Now, if you have a smaller applique sheet and you start running out of room, you can go ahead and I'm going to show you really quick what you can do as far as doing a temporary kind of fuse. So if I take my, let me turn this off for a second. If I take my applique pressing sheet, and it's a white sheet, so it's hard to kind of see the seagulls on there. If I take my iron, have my iron on just a medium heat. You do not want it hot. You don't want to overheat the glue at this point. This is just going to be a temporary hold to get these seagulls kind of as one applique now. I'm going to take my iron and I'm just going to set it down on it for just a couple seconds. I'm just setting it down on it, covering it, a couple seconds. I just want to warm, oh, my iron is pretty cold. These aren't even hardly hot. I just want to warm that glue up enough that it kind of sticks to itself, that they all sort of stick to each other. I'm not fusing right now. So we don't want to do a long, you don't want to be putting it down there for like 10 seconds or doing any steam or anything right now. We're just dry heat. And because my iron likes to shut off after 8 minutes, it's very irritating, and I'm supposed to be able to do this thing where it won't do that. It always does it no matter what I do. So I'm going to do it one more time just because my iron was cold. So I'm just setting it down for just a couple seconds, and then I'm lifting it. It's hot. That's good. Setting it down for a couple seconds, and I'm getting that other guy over there, lifting it, and I'm just going to get his feet real quick. Okay, and that is enough. And I'm just going to let them cool for a few seconds before I mess with anything. And then now that I've letting them cool a little bit, they're still a little warm. Now what I can do is, like with this guy, I can get my oops, see his little foot. Sometimes if something doesn't stick, you can always put a little more heat on it. It's still pretty warm, but I can just gently peel him up. And I lost his tail. I'm gonna put that back on there. So if it's not peeling off, put a little more heat on it. My iron was really cold, so it probably needs a little bit longer just because the fact that my iron's cold. If your iron isn't cold and it's at heat, you don't want to put too much heat on at this point. So my iron would just stay. So I'm going to leave these for a minute because I do want them to cool before I peel them off. But basically at that point, you can peel them off and go set them aside. If you're going to do that, I would set them aside like on a piece of parchment paper so that they aren't going to stick to it. And I wouldn't just leave them out, because one of the things, if you just stick them off to the side, dust and fuzz and cat hair, or in my house, dog hair, could end up getting on there, and then it's like stuck in the fusible, and you pretty much just leave it. But in order to kind of eliminate that possibility, at that point I would go ahead and peel them off and stick them on a piece of parchment paper off to the side. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do according to our instructions, so we did our Seagulls 1 through 3. We're going to do floats A through C in numerical order and arranging them individually. So we're not going to arrange them as one big group. We're going to do each one. So you'll see in your pattern, float A is actually these 3 floats together. Float B is this little glass Japanese buoy, and float C is this other Japanese glass buoy. Before we get going, because it is getting darker outside, I just want to make sure that when I turn the light on, that you guys are able to see well. So give me 1 second, because my little contraption here for my phone is up higher than I can see, and I want to make sure, okay, we can see. It's a little dark. Maybe I'll turn a light on real fast and see if that's helpful. Let's see. I just want to make sure everybody sees. It's nothing worse than if I do all this and you can't see what I'm doing. Let's turn on the overhead lights. I don't know that that did much of anything, but at least I know it's light enough in here that you should be able to see what I'm doing. Okay, so we're going to start with buoy A. Okay, buoys. Buoys. So I know buoy A pieces. We've got some here. Where else do I have buoy A? Grabbing all my little pieces here. So buoy A is going to be, oh, right here, and then I have one in the yellowy color. Where's my yellowy color? Tan, gold. I've used gold. Where's my gold? So irritating when I can't find. Oh. This is my gold. This is where it is, in the tan. Okay, so I have all my colors. So, and then we have a couple parts that are going to come out of this one that are part of the knot. So this is part of the rope. So for buoy A, we're going to need our medium tan. We're going to need our gold. We're going to need our gray print, our white, our light tan, and that's it. Okay. So buoy A1 is here in the medium tan. And it's the little knot at the bottom of the buoy. Right there. And I'm going to stick this back down here to hold it in place. Okay. 2 is this white. And you think, well, but it's a big piece. No, actually, it gets hidden by 8. And I try not to do, like I could make the whole buoy go all the way under this, but it's just extra layers of steam-a-seam. It just makes it thicker and stiffer. So I try to just kind of not make the appliques go too far. And you'll notice that there's a little dash line here, edge of 2. There's a dash line up there. That's where you want to put your 2 top and bottom edges on. And then we go to the gray for A3 and A4. And a little thread sticking out. A3, A4. Okay, A5 is going to be this gold color, and guess what? That's it for the gold too. So we'll just toss that aside. I have a few little threads poking out here. Get rid of those. Okay. A6, the elusive A6 that I couldn't find. It's in the medium tan, and that's it now for part A in the tan. So I'm going to set that aside there. And I'm just folding that edge over. Get that paper to crease. And then 6, 7 is going to be the middle of this buoy, which is white. And that's actually it now for the whites. White's done. And again, I have a few little threads sticking out. Just trim those little puppies off. Oh my goodness. Okay, so which way does this go? It goes like this. There we go. And you'll see again, dash lines, edge of 7 are on those dash lines. So I'm going to line those up with those dash lines. And then 8, where's 8? Oh my goodness, it's this little piece up here. So it's this little tiny bit of the rope that's above it, holding it onto the post there. So if you have a hard time finding that one, it's right up here. 9 and 10 are your last 2 pieces out of this gray print. There you go, thread. Mm, 9 is down here. And 10, and then that's it for this gray color too. We're just moving through them. Okay, so that's actually it. That's it for buoy A. So I'm just going to scooch over and we're going to do B, buoy B, which is one of our Japanese glass floats. Okay, so for buoy B, we're going to definitely need this light tan. We need our 2 blue colors, our aqua on floats and our dark blue, ocean water and floats. We're going to need our medium tan. I think that might be it. Just double check myself. Yep, that's it. Okay. So number 1, B1, that is actually going to be this dark blue ocean. Now this is going to be a dark color with a lot of stuff on top of it. So it's a little harder to see through the darks. And if you're using your light table and you're not videoing for people, this is when you would turn off those overhead lights and brighten up your light table as much as it goes. But so that you guys can see, I'm not going to do that. So B, you'll see, oh, I have a few threads sticking out there too. I don't like those. How this little bottom part here, it lines up really nicely right there, and then it's going to kind of just go inside everything else. So that's how I'm going to line that one up. Now B2, this aqua, pop the B2 out, and it's hard to see through. This one too is one that just wants to have little threads. That's fine. It takes seconds to clip off. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to peel the paper off B2. And now I can't see very well where it is. I mean, I can see lines through there, but I can't read any of the numbers for sure. So I'm going to lift that up and I can see, oh, B2 is over here and it goes like this. So I'm going to keep my eye on it. And if I kind of keep my eye on it, it sort of helps me to be able to see where that line was. Yep. Got it pretty good right there. So maybe adjust a tiny bit. There's my B2. B3, I don't know if you just heard that beeping noise. That's my iron saying, I'm going to shut off. It's been 8 minutes. So I just go over and I shake it and wake it back up so it doesn't cool off like it did before. It's so irritating. I actually have this little baby travel iron that I use more than that one because it doesn't turn off. It's a nice safety feature, I get it. But I always think, like, how many quilters are done every 8 minutes and, you know, would want their iron to shut off? I'm thinking like 30 minutes? Okay, yeah, sure, maybe 30, 20, 30, 40, an hour, 8 minutes. That is not long enough. Oh, shoot. I'm not done with I just noticed my pale gray. Hold on to your pale gray. There's a piece right there. I forgot. Don't throw it away. B5. And then we're going to move into, I think, the buoy stuff. Or I mean, the rope stuff. Yep, I see a B6 in the ropes. Okay, so B5. Where's B5? It's over here. So I can see that my buoy, I moved my little pieces are up a little bit. Okay, it's fine. I'm just gonna put it right here. And one thing I always try to tell people is I try to do designs that look very intricate, but are forgiving. And then when you put them together, they're not that hard. This one takes a little bit of time. There's quite a few things you put together ahead of time and stuff. But if your buoy ends up not being exactly perfectly lined up with your background, especially this stuff in here, you're probably the only one who's ever going to know that, and you're probably the only one who would ever care about it, and more than likely nobody else is going to notice. So I always try to tell people, I'm not telling anyone to be sloppy, but I am telling you that it's very forgiving and not to stress over things being perfect. So on B7, we're going over into this medium tan. I have a few little threads that are really wanting to hold, and I don't want to pull them out of the applique if I can help it. So let me just get this medium tan sticker out of the way. Pop that out. Have any more threads? Yes. Today is like the day of threads, this kit. Okay. B7. So with B7, I'm going to look up here and I'm going to see where it's at. Okay, so I can see that it kind of comes down here around the base. And also it seems like, oh, wait a minute though, there's this like, oh, but that 11 and 10 go on top of it. So you kind of see it looks kind of thick on the applique compared to the picture, but that's because we're going to layer a few things on top of it. So it actually, I just want to make sure I'm doing it right. Okay, lays there, and yep, comes up and lays on here. And that piece kind of goes off. Now, if this piece ends up needing to be wiggled around a little bit, we can. These long, little skinny ones, sometimes they get off a little. That might need to be over a bit. Well, when we get to that point and we're putting on whatever connects to that, we'll deal with that then. So that was 7. We need B8. B8 is over here in this lighter tan color. And I just kind of go walk around with it and tug all those little all those little sections out. This one has a few little cutouts to it. If you have any little threads, again, snip them. The lighter threads on darker fabrics are more noticeable than the others, so I will make sure to kind of go through and snip those. Sometimes you won't even notice them. Okay, so this one up here, it's gonna go, I know it goes up there, and I know it's just gonna kind of lay down all across this top. So I'm just sort of making sure that this goes down, connects. This one ended up going right where it was supposed to, so that's great. That one connects there. This one's connecting over here. Beautiful. Okay, so that was, what was that? What number were we on? 8. Okay, so 9, going back to the aqua floats, is the last aqua color on B. Goes right down here. 10. Okay, dark blue is 10 and 11. So we've got 10. And these are the ones that make up those little holes that you see here. 10 and 11. So 10 kind of goes in here. I can't see where that is through there, even with a really good light, bright light. We're going through some multiple layers of fabric there. It's going to be really hard to see. So I just kind of guesstimate it. I look at the picture and I say, okay, it goes like that. And it's basically making the point between the in here. So I'm just going to stick it like that. I think that looks good. I'm not going to worry if it's exactly perfect. We're good. And I believe that's it. Yeah, B is done. So now let's do C. So I'm going to move this over just so I have a nice clean spot. And we're going to start on C. So C1 is the last in here. Tape is holding it in. And this is done for sure. Okay, C1, C2. Where's C2? Ah, in my aqua. C2. I just noticed I forgot to mark this one up here. This is C9. Okay, C2, where are we at? 2, 3, little bitty 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so C2 is going to go like this, and it's hard to see through that dark without me flipping up and kind of peeking at it. So I do that frequently, especially through darks. It's a light background. It's easy. When they're darker backgrounds, sometimes you got to do the flip. Oops, I'm losing a piece. I'm just going to go ahead and let it out. 4. And I can see my 4 lines, I can see really well. 2, I couldn't see very well. And I see that as I put it down, it didn't really leave a gap there for that rope that you're seeing through the glass. So I picked it up and just moved it over a little. When you do that, pick up the whole thing pretty much, and then where it's stuck there, then you can rotate it really easily. Don't try to pick up just half of it and scooch it over, because it's going to fight you. You don't want them to fight. They should lay right where they're supposed to go. So if it's fighting you in any way, pick it up more, or pick the whole thing up and set it back down, versus trying to like force it into position, because then you're going to end up with wrinkles. It's not going to sit well. It's going to be pulling, trying to go back the other way. That one, amazingly, I could see. 5, so here's 6. 6 is up here. You hear my iron. It's been 8 minutes. My iron's like, I'm going to sleep. I'm going to go grab it. Shake it. Wake it up. I'm only using it right now because it's bigger and we have a bigger space to fuse later, and it would be easier to do the fusing with a larger one than using my little travel one. So, but normally when I've done smaller tutorial videos, I use my little travel one because it doesn't shut off. It drives me crazy. 8, 9 is this one here, and that's it now for aqua. And 9 is down here, so it kind of goes right along the bottom there and creates that little glassy bottom. Okay, 10, C10 is out of this medium. It's quite a big piece. So I just sort of follow the piece, pulling it out, giving it a little tug, get this piece out. I tore some of my paper. I don't care if I tear the paper. I care if I tear the seam. And here's the, okay, this is a good lesson. So right here, I thought the paper tore. The seam is actually sticking to the paper, and so it's wanting to pull the seam off with the paper. If that happens to you, let's take my little iron that's thankfully still hot. I'm gonna set this on here. If you ever have an issue with an applique that for one reason or another didn't get enough heat in that spot, and the seam is wanting to peel up from your fabric, don't try to just peel it up. Put it back down. Place some heat on it for a minute, not a minute, seconds. Place some heat on it for seconds, and I'm just going to go ahead and put it on the whole thing. Let it cool, and that should get that fusible stuck back on your fabric. Now when I did that, it kind of tore my fabric a little bit when I pulled it up. So those little threads that are sticking out, I'm just going to trim them, clean it back up. Now it doesn't happen very often, but occasionally that will happen where maybe something quite didn't get enough heat on it before it went into the laser. I always put the iron on everything first, get it kind of stuck, cut it out, and then that way the fusible's stuck to it. But occasionally, going over it, you might miss a tiny spot and it might do something like that. So, so if that happens, do that. I'm going to go ahead and I'm peeling off kind of gently now that I know that I had a trouble spot, just to make sure I don't do anything. And then that little area, because my paper had torn, I'm going to start over here and I'm going to peel back and it's all stuck. We got fusible all the way on there now. So if you ever have that happen, that's what you're going to want to do. Just put a little heat on it, get that fused, give it a second to cool, and then go ahead and put it down. Now, where does this go? That's a good question. It goes up here. I'm going to start with the little ropey, bumpy stuff. That gives me a good guide. It goes there. I know it goes there. Now it goes like down here. And the other thing is when I peeled that off, I stretched it a little bit because it's a real skinny little delicate piece. So if you ever stretch them a little bit too, another little tip is to just sort of, so I'm going to lay this down here and you can see I'm having a little stretching from when I did that. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to back it up. I want it to look, that's actually supposed to go there. So I'm just going to lift this up, lifting it up. It's not touching the fabric right now. I know probably from you it looks like it is. And I'm just going to press it down flat. So I'm going to lift this up. And if I have to, I can even lift this up. See, lifted it up, set it back down, let it flatten back out. So if you ever have that issue too, where it's like, oh gosh, I got stretched a little bit or something's being a little funky, kind of lift it, lay it flat. This one here's the one that really got stretched. So with this one, I'm just going to kind of let it go. Oh, it's supposed to go way over here. And it actually should get hid under that little knot in the other color, hopefully. Okay, so now we're going to move on to, what was that number? Problem number 10. So 11 is this one right here. Go ahead and pop it out. Okay, nothing else on any of those for C. I think this is the last one for C. So I'm going to pop all these little pieces that are, I usually don't do little cutouts from them, but when it came to these ropes, there wasn't really any other way to do it. So on a laser machine, no big deal. When you're trying to cut it by hand, they're a little more tricky. A little more effort in those cutting, but people just love these Japanese buoys, at least up here. They're very popular anywhere along the water. Oh, and see, I just lined that up. You see how everything just kind of falls. You don't have to force any of the appliques. If you're forcing it to go somewhere, then maybe you have it a little positioned incorrectly. So even this being off slightly could make the rest of it go way off. So if you're having an issue where you're putting this on and this is suddenly going off this way, lift it all back up and kind of rearrange it, because they all should just sort of fall right where they go. And if you ever try to take one of the appliques, pop it out and just lay it on the paste or on the place that it goes with the paper on it, you'll see, oh, it fits. Okay, so if I peel the paper off and it's not fitting, I know it will fit. Maybe I just need to lift it up and rearrange, lift it up and place it again, because your placement just might be just off a little bit. And the longer the piece, the littler the placement, the more it can go off as it gets going, So little mistakes up here might make really big by the time it gets down here, So it's just pick it up and move it and just adjust. Okay, so we've got all of these. And then the very last thing, I think the last thing, yes, we want to put the post together. So because I'm using my big pressing sheet, oh, and I showed you before how we fused those little seagulls. So here we go. It cooled. There's my seagull. He's ready. He can go out on parchment right now if he needs to. I could peel them all off and put them somewhere else. I'm not going to fuse these yet because I think I have room to do the post. I do. So I'm just going to leave those, and then I'll fuse the post and these little guys together. I'm going to put my tape to hold it in place. And so now we're going to work on our post. So it's just the wood part, actually, I believe, that we want to do. Let me check. Yep. So these rope pieces, A, B, you'll see A, B, C, D, E. These ones on the medium tan and the, what's this one, light tan, hold on to these for later. We're only working on post pieces right now. So the post is going to be comprised of our dark brown, our light brown, and our brown print on post. They all say on post. And they should all be numbered. So we're going to start with number 1. Do them in numerical order. Don't do number 3 first, because it's probably supposed to lay on top of number 1 or number 2. There's a reason for the order. There's always a reason. So make sure you always do them in order of the pattern. Okay, so on number 1, I'm lining up the side. It comes all the way down here, lining up that side. Now, I have a little thread sticking out down here. I didn't see that. I don't like that one. I'm going to cut it. These threads, I don't care about those. You know why? Because they're going to get covered up anyhow. Okay, number 1. Number 2. Where's number 2? Here we go. In our print. Do I have any major threads? Nope, I don't see any. Okay. Number 2. So number 2 starts down here. And it comes up. That's laying on top of number 1. Number 3. So I have a few threads. Go ahead and snip those. Just a couple. Not too big of a deal. Okay. Number 3. Gonna go ahead and put this one down. So number 3 is right in here. Now number 3 can be a little bit like, where the heck does number 3 go? Well, because I have this little detail up here. Oh, but I have threads. Little threads. It's hard to see. I'm gonna lift this up. Here's my little detail. I know, okay, this is gonna go there. And then I'm going to follow the line. That's probably kind of hard to see through here, but I'm going to follow this line down here along the right edge. There we go. Number 4 is also this brown print. And number 4 is the last of the brown print. So that's garbage. And number 4 is along this side edge. Now, since it's the first thing I've put on that edge, I also know that I'm going to want to follow the far right edge with the edge of my applique. Okay? Oh, and I didn't quite get it exactly perfectly in line. If you want to be perfect, you can lift it up and start over. Probably if I wasn't doing this in a video, I would have left that, because I know that that bottom, even though it's not perfectly straight, was going to be hidden in my seam allowance. And it wouldn't matter if it was a little off from the rest of the post bottoms, but we'll straighten it out for the video. Okay, number 5 is the only piece that's in this very dark brown. Oops, and I dropped it. Okay. So number 5, the fatter part is on the top, and number 5 is going to be covering up the edges for most here. There's something that goes in there, right? Come on. Yes. What is that number? No, maybe not. Okay, hang on. So number 5 needs to cover those edges. I'm silly. Okay. So there we go. So number 5 is covering up those inner edges. Now number 6, we got this, what is this color called? Light brown. It's actually the color taupe. And I got quite a few little threadies on this one. So I'm just going to snip. I don't know if you can see me. I'm off to the side here. I'm just snipping these little threads that are sticking out. Some are worse. Some fabrics are worse than others. And it's funny because it's not a color of the fabric. It's like the bolt. that particular bolt, that particular weave might be just like one that just wants to give you all kinds of threads, and others won't. Okay, so I'm gonna lift this up and see where number 6 is. Okay, here's number 6. It goes through the middle. So I can kind of see, it's hard to see through this dark, but I know it kind of goes right through here, all the way down to that point. Here's a little thread I missed. I'll snip her off because that's a light on a dark. You really notice it. You might notice my bottom edge. They're not all lining up perfectly. It's okay. It's going to be in this. It's going to be in the seam allowance, so you don't need to worry about that. Here's number 7. Again, number 7 wants to give me threads galore. They're not galore, but they're definitely more. Sometimes, like there's some colors, it's like absolutely not a single thread sticks out anywhere. And others are like, eh. We want to give you a little extra job. Okay, so peeling off that for number 7. Where does number 7 go? It's right here. It's hard to see, so I'll bring it up here. 7 goes down like this. And let me see if I have it right side. I think I have it upside down. Yep, I think so. Maybe. Nope, I didn't. I had it right side up the other way. If you put it in upside down, I'm pretty sure nobody's going to notice. I mean, it's just like a little highlight on a block of wood. And it kind of goes and runs along that edge of that dark brown too. Okay, now final piece for that is number 8, which is up here at the top. Oh wait, no, sorry, there's a number 9. Okay, so we've got that. Did I lie before about? I did! Dark brown. There's one other. I didn't label it. I love doing videos so you guys can see that, you know, I miss stuff all the time. So, okay, we are truly done with this one. Yes? Yes, we are. Throw that away. Do we have threads? Of course. It's that little light brown. It wants to give me threads everywhere. Okay. So now number 8 goes up here, and I'm lining up kind of the top edge, but also making sure that it covers up and touches, you know, that post on the bottom because they're attaching. And then finally number 9, which is the other dark, dark, dark brown. Now that is truly officially done, and absolutely no threads to my dark brown. Thank you. So I think, yeah. Now, right now, my little dark brown, my point is very pointy, and I'm just going to move this over so that I make sure to cover that up. Cover, cover. There we go. Okay, post is done. So I'm going to move my layout guide out of the way for a moment. Turn this off for also. We're going to grab our little ironing mat, and I see I have a few threads. Of course, it's on that medium one that I missed. Okay, we're finally officially done with those. And I'm going to grab my iron, which has shut off on me again. And I'm going to go ahead now. I'm going to take a drink of water. And after that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lightly fuse these groupings together. So I don't know how well my iron's doing right now, but we'll go ahead and we'll try. So I'm putting that on. That's getting some heat. So I'm just going to, because my iron's kind of cold, I'm leaving this on for longer than I would normally. So you're just wanting to do just a couple seconds. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000. That's usually enough. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000. And I'm not even going to iron up here because that doesn't have anything attached to it, right? It's just one piece. So there's no real reason for me to apply any heat up there. We already got our birds. Just going to really gently, because my iron's a little cold, make sure to kind of take care of these. Okay, so I've got all my applique groups ready to go and on my pressing sheet. So now what we're going to do is we're actually going to start arranging onto the background. So lightly fuse all on low heat and remove from the pressing sheet. You can remove them from the pressing sheet. I'm just going to leave them on. I only say to remove them because some people need that instruction that, you know, now we're going to take them off. But if you're getting ready to right away start arranging on your background, leave them on, because if you take them off, you're just going to run the risk of getting stuff stuck up behind them. And you don't want this sticky to get fuzz and dust and hair and stuff like that on it. So if you're not going to go move on to step 6 right away, leave them on here. If you're going to go on to step 6 and you want to peel them all off right now, go for it. So I'm going to go ahead and start though on step 6. So we're going to move these out of the way. Let me get my layout guide. Now, because this will fit very nicely like this, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do my arrangement sideways. I hope that doesn't bother anybody, but I think it'll be the best way to do it. The only thing is my thing's going to want to fall over. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a tiny piece of tape on the edge and I'm going to tape that down, and I'm going to quickly throw away all my little garbage stuff here because I'm going to add a lot more garbage. Give me 1 second, and give me 1 more second to check my video and make sure that it didn't stop on me. Beautiful, and you can see everything. Yes, you can. Okay, so we've got our light on. We're going to lay the completed background onto the layout guide, lining up the bottom edge. So this is a little taller than my 24-inch wide, so I have these lines, dot, 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 it keeps going. We're going to line up this is technically in the bottom edge. We have it sideways, but we're lining up the bottom edge. So you'll see this, and your cut edges should line up very nicely with that. Beautiful. Got ourselves arranged. Now we're going to line up the bottom edge and arrange appliques in the following order. So the first thing we're going to do is beach background A, which is this piece here, and grasses B through E. So I'm going to peel this off the bottom. This lines up like literally right along your bottom. This will go, part of this will be in your seam allowance. Just lining that up. And then here are your grass, green, ocean water, and grass. So we're going to do, that's technically A. Now we're going on to B. Which, I don't know where they are. Let me look here. B, C, D, E. Okay. A little puppy dog here. Okay, so B. I can see through this a little bit. It's pretty hard to see because I have my light table down low and I have my overhead lights. Wondering maybe I'll try turning them off while we do this arrangement and see if that is helpful for you guys. I'll just turn that one that's right above me. So yeah, I can see better now through here for sure. Oh, I grabbed D. I'm such a nerd. I grab B and I grab D. Now in this case, it doesn't matter that you do D. They're not layering on each other. So instead of me putting that away, I'm just going to set it right there. But here's my C. I went B, D. And again, if you have any threads that come out, that you won't notice them as much in this case if they're laying on the background. But sometimes, you know, like I said, darks on lights, you definitely can see them. So B, C, D, we already did. And so E is the last one for the grass. And it's right next to D. Okay, so done. Now we want to do water pieces F through H. So we did through E, now we're going F, G, H. So F is this dark blue. And the very straight top, you'll notice one edge is a little wobbly, and the other is very straight. The very straight part goes along the straight edge there. Now G, I will tell you, this is one place where I found in my pattern I missed labeling. So if you have one of my patterns from the first printing, you're going to see that you don't know where G is. Well, G is actually this long green ocean piece, and its little label got lost somewhere. I didn't put it on there. So future printings will have that correction. But if you happen to be searching for G and you can't find it, it is this long little fishy, green fishy piece. So here goes G and G. The wobbly edge, I think, yeah, looks like. Or is it not? Oh no. So the wobbly edge on G actually goes up. Wobbly, wobbly, more straight. Put the wobbly edge up. And it goes all the way to your edges of your fabric. So this is going to get, parts of this will be sewn into the seam allowance as well. And then H is, when I tried to throw this away before, the pale gray print, I discovered, there's an H right there. That is our little bit of oceany foam from the waves crashing. So H, you'll see right here, here's H. You just want that little point to kind of touch the green edge and the other point to touch the green edge there. And there's H. And that's it for those kind of background ones. So now we're going to put, the next step is float A and the post. So float A is this long one. That's the white buoys. And sometimes when I'm doing these long ones too, I'll peel from the top and the bottom. And if I feel like it, maybe from the sides, just to kind of release them. Because, you know, they're only temporarily held right now. So they're not fused. We don't want them fused. We just want them to stick together. And that doesn't mean that they're like super stuck. So I'm going to go ahead and just, I can see the edge line there. I can see kind of through there. Putting A in place. So we're doing A, float A, and then the post. So the post goes next. So I'm peeling. Let's see, I'll do this off camera here, but I'm peeling the post off. Lovely. One big post. Making sure I didn't just bump anything. Okay, it's in line. I'm going to line up my top of my post. My sides were straight. Now, I'm not perfectly lined up on the bottom here, but I'm lined up here in the drawing, and that's what I care about more than anything. This is going to be in the seam allowance, so as long as it's within the 1/4 inch, you're good to go. My post is slightly high on this side, so I actually, just because it's so close to that 1/4 inch seam allowance, where the way I laid it, I'm actually going to go ahead. My iron just beeped at me again. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lay it down. I'm just going to rearrange it so that I get, see, much better that time. Now I'm definitely within that seam allowance, no problems. And shake my iron, wake my iron up. Okay, so next is float B and rope pieces A and B. So do float B first. Now which one's B? Let me take a peek. B, okay, is the one that has the shorter rope at the top, not this real long one. Okay, peeled that off. This kind of came up a little bit, but I'm just gonna like press it, or I can just lay it down and then press it there. So B, look, kind of get my idea. Where is B? B is kind of hard to see through these layers. I'm pretty sure it's about here. Ooh, no, it isn't. I got it tilted way off. Hold on. I got it kind of, it's hard to see through these, and I would love to turn the lights off from above me, but okay. So I'm going to look down here. Am I doing the right? Oh, no, I am doing the wrong one. That's why I'm so off. Oh, I'm such a goof. So back up, switch around. This long one, that's why it's not fitting. And if you're ever doing that and you're like, why isn't this fitting? Check yourself, because I was just putting the wrong one in the wrong place. Okay, now we should have no problem. So let's see. So B, and I can kind of see through here that piece there. And it fits, what do you know? Use the right piece. Okay, and then A and B. So A, this is this knot tying the buoys to the post. So A is right here. B, that's D. B is right here in the medium tan. Now, next step